But it is time now to wander to Omaha, Nebraska, unless Jamie's in someplace else that we don't know about. I mean, he could be like in Kansas or Wyoming or something like that, but we'll find out. Find out what it's like for somebody to be a sporting director with multiple competitions. And yes, we believe in proper hydration for guesting, so that's perfectly fine too. I didn't want him to do a spit take on his lens, but here we go. Jamie Henderson, sporting director, Union Omaha. How are you, sir?
John, I'm well. How are you?
Look at you with the over the shoulder.
See that? Good placement, right?
Yeah. Well done with the product placement. Are you hiding plays that Vincenzo Candella's drawing up, or what do you do? You just hide.
There was some information on there that I couldn't quite rub out today. I needed to stay on there, so it's a great opportunity to put that. That shirt's normally up here somewhere next to a signed one by Pedro Amador. Actually, he gave me a gift before I left.
Nice. So, reason that we dialed you up is because Media Day was happening up there at Union Omaha, and we went to our buddy Will Clark, and we're like, hey, can we take part in Media Day? But it means taking part in catching up with you. And so our Media Day with Union Omaha is catching up with the sporting director and find out, how is the sporting director at Union Omaha?
Fantastic. It's been a whirlwind since I joined, John. It's gone so quickly. I think the last time we talked was in August, right, when I first joined, and between now and then so much has happened, and now we're 3 games into the season, and it's, you know how it is in this world, it just comes and goes so quickly. So I'm enjoying it, I'm embracing it, and it's going to be a good season for us.
What's the biggest thing that you think you've learned so far about being a sporting director there in that league?
You know, I think when we first talked, my biggest challenge was going to be to understand the full level of USL, not just in League One, but into the Championship as well. And that's what I've spent a lot of my time doing over the last 6 or 7 months is understanding that level. It's been quite a turnover in the roster. We brought in 9 new players this season, a full new coaching staff as well. So every day's been different, and so something else pops up every day that I'm learning. But it's been so enjoyable, and really happy with how the team is shaping up for this year. And you know, like I said, we're really excited about what's to come this season.
And you're having to juggle Open Cup, having to do with all that too, huh?
Yeah, so we had a really long week last week. We was away at Spokane, first game of the season. We then travelled. We flew from Spokane to St. Louis midweek, played that midweek Open Cup game, and then we was back home this weekend for our first home opener, which we got 3 points, which was really positive. So it's been a long week. Guys have had a couple of days off, and we'll be back at it either this afternoon or tomorrow morning for another home game this weekend against Corpus Christi.
When you look at League One, and I know that there have been difficulties with one of the franchises, obviously here in our footprint back with South Georgia Torment at the beginning of the year, how much of an adjustment was it for you and the other sporting directors to try and figure out, okay, we've got to fix this on the fly. How do we make this as best we can? Either we turn it into a friendly week or we just take the week off. What was it like for you getting that kind of a trial by fire about having to try to do things behind the scenes?
Yeah, you know, it's first off, it's disappointing for everybody, right? Everyone connected to Georgia Tormented, the league. It's a situation that everybody wish hadn't happened, but it's happened, and now everybody has to adjust a little bit. Hopefully all of the players at Tormentor have found new homes now as well, which is positive. But yeah, in terms of the logistics, it's everyone has to then start helping each other out. I think it's really important that within the USL market that everybody starts to help each other out. We're in the same situation, trying to find that 19th home game, understanding what the away game looks like, and you know, we're working hard now to find that 19th home game, and hopefully we have something to announce in the coming weeks. A really exciting matchup for us, which will be great for the Omaha community, but great for growing USL as well. So hopefully we have some news to share on that in the coming weeks. But yeah, we're working hard.
Is it behind the jersey?
No, yeah, that's one thing that was not behind the jersey. That got rubbed out a couple of days ago.
When you obviously, there's a lot that you get to learn about yourself in this kind of a situation. How have you specifically adjusted to Omaha and to Nebraska and that new part of your life where, you know, every match day at Mercedes-Benz, you know, you're coming in, you're styling and profiling in a suit, and now you're sporting director out there in a different environment entirely where there is a market that loves its sport. What's it been like for you and the family to adjust to what life is like in Omaha?
Yeah, well, lucky enough for me, I know what Omaha's like. I went to school here for 4 years. My wife is from small town Nebraska. Her family lives in Omaha, so the transition for me from Atlanta to Omaha was really easy in the sense that my wife was able to stay in Atlanta and finish projects out at her school, while I lived here with some of her family, and then we were able to move into our house late December, which was great. And then Bailey, my wife, joined me in January. But the transition for just lifestyle has been super easy. Now the transition for work life is also been really easy, surprisingly easy, because it's such a fantastic club. The ownership, GM, all of the staff, the coaching staff, the players have been so welcoming to me, and they made my life a lot easier. Now obviously when you're talking about Atlanta United and comparing it to Union Omaha, at Atlanta I was so fortunate. We had everything, right? The training facility is world class. You go there, my office, my desk was there right next to the training facility. I get to go to the best stadium in the world, in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and go there and work. But this Union Omaha and the USL has more of a grassroots feel to it at times, but it's really refreshing because you come here and everybody, no matter what their title is, what their role is at the club, they are doing those little bit extra to make the game day special. Whether it's myself and when we was playing out at Warner Park, which is the baseball franchise here, chipping in and making sure the field boards are set up, making sure everything is ready to go. If ticket sales need help, do I need to go out and help them with that? It's, the club's motto is one means all, and that's never been truer to this club. Everybody chips in to make this a special place, and I'm loving it, John. It's great. It's got a real good feeling about it, and the club's ambitious, and there's some really exciting projects coming down the line.
Yeah, the back in November, there was the announcement of the $140 million soccer stadium, live, work, play environment, which we're used to seeing in USL League One and a bunch of different markets. And I think, yes, when you play at Warner Park in Papilla, Nebraska, it has its own feel, its own vibe, and you understand that when you're going to be a part of things either at UNO or at Warner Park, that it is Union Omaha. But I think that stadium coming online is that next stage in that, to embrace what the sport is doing and how it's growing there, specifically in Nebraska. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing this next stage as well, and I imagine that the vibe's been pretty hot since you stepped in, dating back to November with this new project online.
Yeah, look, this is something that the club's been working on for 6 years. Unfortunately, it fell through a few years ago, but it's on the right tracks now, and it's going to be a super exciting period, not just for Union Omaha, but for the community of Omaha, which is very soccer driven. So they love their soccer in this city, in this state, and there's some very good soccer players in here. I was fortunate enough to coach high school and club here in my college days, so I know the type of players that come out of here. Just for an example that everybody will know is Duncan Maguire, who's at Orlando. He went to Creighton Prep, went to Creighton, and he's doing extremely well in the MLS and has had a lot of European interest. So this state produces players, and having this soccer specific stadium outside of Morrison, which is a fantastic facility for Creighton to be playing in, this is going to bring the community together. It's going to be downtown next to the baseball stadium where they have College World Series. The whole district's going to be great, and it opens up so many opportunities, not just for men's soccer, but for women's soccer later on as well, and hopefully an academy later down the line. So the project's great. The ideas are fantastic. It's just piecing it all together now, being patient, but it's going to be really good when this is done.
Jamie Henderson, sporting director at Union Omaha and USL League One, hiding information from us by posting Atlanta United jerseys in his studio space, dropping by this morning. You mentioned your time at Bellevue and coaching and all that kind of stuff. How has it changed or grown from the time that you were coaching there to now when coming in as a sporting director? What has the growth curve been like for the sport since you had that first influence on the high school level to where it is now?
Yeah, it's grown. It keeps growing year on year. You see more and more soccer-specific facilities being built. Every time I'd come back once a year, normally while I was living in Atlanta for Christmas with my wife, and I'm not kidding. Each year there was a new soccer-specific area, and you think this is growing. It keeps growing. The fan base is growing. The excitement around the sport is growing. I think it's not just a city of Omaha or a state of Nebraska thing. I think we can both agree that it's a countrywide thing, right? I think the sport is becoming quickly one of the most popular sports in this country. It's obviously going to have to compete extremely hard against American football, baseball, basketball, but it's there, and it's not going anywhere, is it? So we're really fortunate to work in this industry, and I expect it to continue to create excitement, especially with the World Cup coming as well. That's going to create huge excitement and hopefully continue the growth that we're seeing now.
How do you compete but not compete, if you know what I mean? Because soccer has its own universe, and it's got its own vibe. It has its fans and all this kind of stuff. How do you continue to carve out Los Bujos place, understanding that folks they're gonna go to Lincoln on a college football Saturday. That's there. You want to bring them in, but how do you grow and not compete, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, it's nearly impossible to compete with Nebraska football, and we have to be very careful. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
And what we do when we're scheduling, Alexis, our GM, does an excellent job at scheduling games around Nebraska football. Now it becomes very difficult to schedule those at times because of TV, but we try to make sure that we work hand in hand with all of these sports to make sure that Nebraska football is always going to have its support. That's not going anywhere. But to make sure that we, can maximize what we have in the stands is making sure that we work around that. No need to compete. I think everyone wants sport in the state of Nebraska, whether it's volleyball, which is so well supported in Nebraska, whether football, creating men's soccer, creating women's soccer, everything. Everyone, wants to work together to make sure all sports are successful.
When it comes to bringing in the kind of player that you want to bring in, obviously you get to have conversations with coaches and GMs and things like that. So when you're sporting director and, Coach Candela is like, well, hey, I want to bring in somebody like a Sammy Gadiri. I want to bring in a Brett Coleman. I want to bring in folks like that. When you're sitting there and trying to figure out how you want the club to grow and succeed, what are those conversations like about bringing in the right player? And I mean the right player on the field and off, so they integrate completely.
Yeah, for us, myself and Vinny, we have a very similar mindset. We're going to bring in the person first. To grow this club and to grow the sport, you have to have good people representing you on and off the pitch. Mm-hmm. And that was something that we have done extremely well this off-season, is making sure that we sound out the right people who are going to represent Omaha in the right way off the field. We're fortunate enough that we have not only good people, but good people who are good soccer players. And that's the mindset that we want to set. We need to make sure that in this tight-knit community that we're working in, these guys are getting out in the community. They're growing the sport, they're growing the club, they're willing to do it. They're public facing, they get into schools and they do clinics. That's so big for us. And we have worked extremely hard in the off season, having multiple conversations with players before we sign them, speaking to players that they played with, former coaches at professional level, former coaches at college level. So we do a lot of sounding out of players to understand what they're like, what their personality is like before we sign them. There's something we take extremely seriously, and that won't go anywhere as long as I'm here.
Okay, feel free to hydrate while I ask this next question. We believe in proper hydration. So how different is that now? How much more investment in the player is there, in the person is there, before investing in the player and looking at it? How much behind the scenes and off the field stuff are you looking at more than you might have in the past?
It was the same at Atlanta United, John. I spent weeks on end in Europe at times meeting with players before we signed them. Because Arthur, he wants people to represent Atlanta United in the right way off the field as well. Just because it's a bigger club with a bigger fan base, it doesn't mean that you take any backward steps in terms of the people you're bringing in. You want to make sure you're bringing in good people who are going to represent the club well, and that's a big part that I've made sure that I brought over to Omaha with me, which is probably a little bit more important because Atlanta has its fan base, right? That's there. That's not going anywhere. Of course, it's going to continue to grow, but here I still believe we're just scraping the surface of what we can do. So making sure that those people are going to represent as well is so important. Sometimes, in a scouting process, you can see what they're like technically, you can see what they're like physically, tactically, you can see what they're like. But the fourth point is, psychological. So what they're like as a person, that's the bit that you can't really see on video or when you go to scout them. So getting face to face time, get on calls with them, that's so important. And we're lucky this year, or not to say lucky, we've done a lot of work to understand that we brought in some very good people who also happen to be very good soccer players. And if you can get that combination of the two, then you've got success coming.
No, that's really cool that you say that you're just barely scratching the surface on it when you're looking at trying to figure out how to bring in the right players. How much time, I guess, when you budget your time when you're looking for players and assembling a roster, how much time is spent with the off the field stuff? How much time is spent looking at huddle and highlights and things like that? So has the balance shifted to where you're spending more time on the off the field because the on the field is so much easier to access these days?
Not so much, more time. I think more time is spent watching the player, but making sure that we sound out a lot of people to get their advice on players, just on a personality standpoint. And we're both very well connected, myself and Vinny and the other coaching staff around the league, and are able to find these people who we can ask questions of, just to understand what the personality traits of the person is outside of the field. Of course, we're going to spend hours and hours watching players to make sure they're the right profile fit in terms of their playing style, but then also we won't take we won't slack on the personality point. That just won't happen.
For someone who wants to come and see the Murder Owls do their thing, when they walk in the door, stylistically, what are folks going to see this year?
Yeah, I think the style of football that we want to play is going to be attacking, entertaining football with control at times. The first 3 games, you'll see the percentage of possession is very high, but we're also creating opportunities as well. We want fans to come into the stadium and enjoy what they're seeing. They want to be entertained. They want to see goals. That's going to happen. I think a perfect example of that was this past weekend. We won 3-2 against a very, very good Boise side. They're new into the league, but they've got an excellent roster, a very good coach. And it was an entertaining game of football, and that's what we want. There's going to be games where it's 3-3, 4-3. It's going to be an entertaining style of football, but we're going to have control, and Vinny is so good at giving the players the freedom to go and express themselves and go and enjoy it, because if they're not enjoying it, then there's no point. So they're going to go out and enjoy it. They're going to entertain the fans. We're going to win some games. Of course, we're going to lose some games because the USL is so tight with so many competitive teams, but it's going to be entertaining.
When you look at USL League One, you're starting to get to the point to where with the clubs and everything, you're starting to get into those rivalries and those hubs that I think they were looking at to try to help things out, at least financially, when it comes to travel. Right now you're starting to get that Pacific Northwest hub. You're starting to get the drifting down into California. The Southeast has always been a part of that big footprint. And I think that probably for the longest time, a lot of folks might have associated Forward Madison as like the number one rival for Union Omaha. Now you've got Corpus Christi added to the mix, where last time I checked, Amon Zayed, he kind of knows what he's doing when it comes to being a coach. What's it like to see USL League One grow to where you're starting to fill in all of these geographic pockets and not ignore any part of the country now?
It's great, and I think we're going to continue to see it grow. I think when promotion relegation comes into USL, we're going to see more and more teams, and there's going to be more and more local rivalries. Right? I think you talk about our geographical local rivalries is Forward Madison, but you have competitive rivalries now, and what Union Omaha is always going to have, because of the success that the club has had, always going to have that target on our back where teams are going to want to beat Union Omaha, and that's great, and that's great for the players to have that pressure on their back where teams are going to come and give everything every single weekend against Union Omaha because it's a team to beat. And I love that pressure. It's the same pressure we had at Atlanta United, right? It's Atlanta United. We've had success. We've got the best stadium in the league. We've got the best training facility. Feel like we've got the best players, have that target on our back, and I love that, and that's just a competitive part of me. I love it.
You mentioned ProRel. Let me ask about that. And from what I've gathered in talking to a bunch of different owners and front office folks is that everybody digs it. Everybody's in on this and they're ready for it because you're going to have that added level up top. And then you're going to have obviously what is currently championship and League One and so on. So, as you know, with your upbringing and what you're used to seeing, what's your feedback been about promotion relegation, USL? What has everybody been talking to you about when this seems to be coming down the pike?
The questions that that have been asked to me, when we do fan forums, is do you think it's a good idea? And I've always been for promotion relegation. The one hang-up I always had with MLS prior to working in MLS was that there's no jeopardy, right? You can have a poor season and there's no repercussions for it. You actually get the first pick of the draft, but that's the American way as well. And I think it's a format that is going to be so exciting. I think you're going to see very exciting games of football because of it. I think talking about the growth of the fan base, that's going to continue to grow now because you have got something to really hold on to. I think it's going to be great. I don't know when this is going to be rolled out, but the conversations are getting stronger. But for the growth of the USL, I think it's going to be fantastic.
One more question for you. Open Cup round 2, week from today, trip to Indy to take on Indy 11, and I imagine there's going to be more than just 11 there on their bench and everything. But expectations going into Indy, they have been kind of up and down. You don't know which version you're going to get. They might be primed for the picking, considering how their season started off kind of rough. What kind of a matchup are you expecting coming out of a game week, going into an Open Cup game, and then another 3-match in a week setup starting this weekend?
It's another rough week for us, but we're super excited about it. We love going up against championship competition. It just to show where we're at as well. To be honest with you, India are a good team. They've got good players. They're well coached. It's going to be a very competitive game, but it won't be a game that India would have seen that draw as well, and I don't think they'd have been too pleased with it. So it's going to be a competitive game of football. I think we talked about on our last call how the gap between USL League One and Championship is getting smaller, and we'll start to see that. The guys out here, they're super competitive group. They are so excited for the game. They just see it as another game of football that they want to go out and win. So it's going to be a good game next week.
Yeah, and when you've got Rashid Nuhu in net and everybody's kind of staring at what he's been able to do as an Open Cup killer in cup sets.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that you sit there, it's like you drift to Union Omaha, you see Rashid, you're like, yep, I know what I got to deal with.
Yeah.
Great to see you, my friend. Please don't be a stranger. You know that if you ever want to vent your spleen about anything, you know where the garage door opener is. You know where the key is.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to remove that jersey behind you and let us know what's the wording behind it, you can do that at any time too.
So, well, next time, John, I'll make sure that's off there for you.
It's all good, brother. It's great to see you. Keep kicking, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Great to see you.
Appreciate it, John. Take care. Thank you.
There goes Jamie Henderson, Grand Exalted Poobah of everything at Union Omaha. Well, actually, he's a sporting director. He's still a Grand Exalted Poobah, but now very, very cool to catch up with Jamie and find out what is going on with everything there, everything from Open Cup to all the things. It is all the things.